So sit back and relax while we bring our experts from around ASEAN to speak on the energy and climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Please let me request to share slide.
Sorry?
This slide is okay on?
Yes, okay.
Yes, okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. You can stop share. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. The Energy Forum will commence shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We'll be starting the Energy Forum in a few minutes' time. Just please bear with us. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon and salam sejahtera to distinguished guests, representative of AFIO member organization, CAFEO 39 delegate, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Energy Forum. This event is organized by AFIO Energy Work Group and would like to take this opportunity to thank the CAFEO 39 hosts, Ketuhan Uko Jurutera and Architect Bruna Darussalam Puja, for their effort in staging various online activities, conferences, forums throughout CAFEO 39. The theme for today's forum, Engineering and Climate Change, which is also the theme for CAFEO 39, will focus on ASEAN future, fuels mix towards cleaner energy system and climate change. Without further ado, we would like to invite Mr. Alex Louis Ting Hui, who is the Deputy Chairman of AFIO Energy Work Group, who has graciously accepted our invitation to be the moderator for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Bali. And good afternoon, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Very happy to see all of you here joining us for the RPO Energy Working Group Energy Forum 2021. So our RPO Energy Working Group under the RPO initiative focus on championing the ASEAN collaboration on sustainable energy, which includes renewable energy as well as energy efficiency and climate change in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs. So this Energy Forum initiative is developed to actually provide the insights, key insights from experts in ASEAN on the impact and development on sustainable energy and climate change, as well as renewable energy and energy efficiency in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So without further ado, I would like to invite our RPO Chairman and Puja President, Engineer Haji Muhammad Zain bin Haji Saleh, to give us the opening remarks. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alex Louis. Welcome to the 39th Conference of ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations. uh, forum on energy. I welcome the engineer Alex Noy also, and thank you for being the moderator for today's forum. And I wish all of the participants a very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Puja President Engineer Haji Muhammad Zaid bin Haji Saleh for the opening remarks. Next, we would like to invite Engineer Francis Xavier Jacob from the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, IEM, as well as the Chairman of CAFEO Energy Working Group, to give us the first keynote. Engineer Francis, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alex, for the kind introduction. A very good day to all participants for the Energy Forum, organized by the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, or CAFEO, and in conjunction with the 39th Conference of the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, or CAFEO. A warm welcome to today's Energy Forum.
Sorry, Engineer Francis. We couldn't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear? I'm not muted. Can you hear me now? Okay, I think I'll continue first.
Engineer Francis, you can continue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Let me start all over again. A very good day to all participants of the Energy Forum, organized by the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, AFEO, and in conjunction with the 39th Conference of the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations, CAFEO. A warm welcome to this Energy Forum, where we will continue to address issues relating to the development of sustainable energy. As we slowly look forward to overcoming the incidence of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to continue to plan towards the development of the energy sector in our countries. In this respect, we have to be clear in our vision on the sustainability of our energy sector. I hope that this forum will assist us in this respect to give input towards such a sustainable development of our energy sector. Wishing you all a very good, fruitful discussion during this forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis Xavier, for the keynote address. Okay, next, I would like to invite Puan Nordina Zarina binti Haji Yahya for the second keynote. She is the head of Brunei Climate Change Secretariat as well as the Ministry of Development. Puan Nordina Zarina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Engineer Alex. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Just checking if my audio and my presentation slide is okay.
Yes, all is good, Pandit.
Okay, great. So, Yang Mulia Engineer Haji Muhammad Zain bin Haji Saneh, President of Puja and also Chairman of AFEO 2021. First of all, I'd like to thank AFEO and Puja for inviting me today to be part of the 39th CAFEO Energy Forum. My name is Dina. I'm the head of the Brunei Climate Change Secretariat, and I am very happy to be here today to deliver a keynote, although my keynote will be quite long compared to the one before me. So I'll just share with you today on Brunei Darussalam's effort on climate change. So I must say that I feel quite nervous to be surrounded by a virtual room full of engineers, but I do believe that engineers are the ones who will close the gaps between climate ambition and also climate action. So I think early this morning during the opening session, a number of our keynote speakers have explained climate change really well, and even to the detail of the multilateral process around climate change, global action. So this is a snapshot of what was going on around the world just last week. So if you can see here, so a fine layer of hail and snow was sighted in Saudi Arabia, Al-Jaf province, as temperature fell to 7 degrees. It was said that this event was rather unusual. In our region, we can see here that heavy rainfall and landslide has hit Indonesia, especially in Java and Sumatra, affecting over 25,000 people with casualties. So for us, as we continue to monitor climate impacts around the world, every week we see that these extreme events where the pattern just gets more intense every time. The IPCC released the first part of its sixth assessment report in August. So this is the latest and the best available science that we have today. It has provided us with scientific evidence that climate change is happening, and it is happening at a rate which we are not ready for. The key findings from this report is that the world is heading towards a 1.5 degrees as early as 2030, with a high probability of it happening in 2040. And beyond this point, the impacts of climate change would be catastrophic and irreversible. But this is, of course, if we do not take any action soon enough. The report also mentioned that these impacts, especially on heat, heavy rainfall, drought, fire weather, fire, especially forest fire, and also ocean, will get more intense and more devastating. Recently, the Asean State of Climate Change report mentioned that Asean, as a region, so we are one of the most vulnerable regions to the impacts of climate change. And we will only see that these impacts here, or these 5 impacts, will happen more and more frequent in the region, and it will be more and more aggressive. So climate change is a complex issue. So issue of this scale, I think, needs a global action. So the latest, and I think still a hot topic, is the COP26. I think it was also mentioned by our keynote speaker this morning at the opening session. So this is the annual official meetings among climate negotiators to bring down the global greenhouse gas emission to a level that will bring the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. It is to limit that temperature increase. So at this year's COP, it was all about accelerated ambitions, about balanced approach, and about commitments. COP26 has placed a great emphasis on the importance of keeping the 1.5 degrees target alive. So this is very important that we limit the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. So at COP26, I think if you followed the news, it was very highly covered by the media. There were about 120 leaders that attended the conference, showing high-level political commitments. And at the COP itself, at the conference itself, and even leading up to COP26, we have heard a lot of pledges made by countries on net zero. So climate change and net zero are gaining momentum all around the world, and now it's time for us to take over, in terms of action. So at COP26 as well, so based on the pledges that have been made so far on net zero, it was said that 90% of the global greenhouse gas emissions are now covered by net zero pledges. And this will bring the global temperature increase to 2.2 degrees, which is not enough because we need to bring it down to 1.5. So this is to say that even with the net zero pledges and that covers 90% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, it's still not enough to bring the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. At COP26 as well, about 141 countries pledged to strengthen efforts on forest preservation as well as to reverse deforestation. So this is also a commitment to ensure that we have enough carbon sink to offset our emissions. We also saw 46 countries, including Brunei, that have pledged to stop coal as early as 2050. And this is a very important political statement because as we know that coal is the major source of fossil fuel that contributes to the global greenhouse gas emission. At the same time, at COP26, we also saw about 104 countries have pledged to reduce their methane emission by 30% by 2030. So methane is a more potent gas than CO2. So it has a warming potential of about 23 times more than the normal carbon dioxide. So it is very important that we tackle this because this is seen as low-hanging fruit that we can go for easily. So the last one, which is the most important deliverables of the COP26, was the Paris Rulebook. So finally, the Paris Rulebook was concluded, and this will make it easier for countries or parties under the UNFCCC to operationalize the Paris Agreement or any pledges that they have made under the Paris Agreement. So net zero pledges, about 137 countries have now pledged for net zero. So even for Brunei, so we have expressed our intention to go towards net zero by 2050. So you can see here the big countries like Russia, Indonesia as well, and China have pledged for net zero by 2060. But if you look at the left side of the map, so that's on the American side, and the Europe side, their pledges is more, it's earlier, it's sooner, that's 2050. So, but we can see that net zero now will set the tone or will set the course moving forward for our economic landscape. So the emissions gap report that was just released just before COP shows that all these pledges that has been made would only bring the temperature rise to the global temperature rise to 2.7. But as I mentioned earlier on, with all the net zero emission pledges, you would be able to bring it to 2.2 degrees. But then concrete action is required. If you look at the greenhouse gas emission, the global greenhouse gas emission here, about 80% of the global greenhouse emission is contributed by the energy sector. So this is from combustion of fossil fuel and also methane. So we know that the energy sector plays a very important role in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I think not just globally, but also for Brunei, this is also the same case. So what is required to bring the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees? So there are two things here. So the first one is we need to ensure that global greenhouse gas emission is reduced by 45% by 2030. So we only have 9 years to ensure that we globally reduce the greenhouse gas emission to 45%. And also the world must reach a state of net zero emission by 2050. Although you have seen earlier on that some countries have made pledges beyond 2050. So more on ASEAN now. this is just to share that Brunei is ASEAN Chair for 2021. We had the honor to present the ASEAN Joint Statement on Climate Change. The reason why I share this is because as ASEAN, regionally, we are also very committed to reduce our greenhouse gas emission and at the same time increase our climate resilience. So this is to ensure that we reduce the risk and also the impacts of climate change to our community, to our built environment. Yeah. So the joint statement reaffirms ASEAN commitment as a region, but at the same time, it also outlines what are the concerns as a region for ASEAN when it comes to climate change. And also we call for developed countries to help us provide finance, also provide assistance to build our capacity so that we can better respond to climate mitigation and also climate adaptation. This is just to share how committed are we at individual country level. So all ASEAN member states now have already submitted or communicated their NDCs. So NDCs is a form of commitment. So it is where we outline our commitment to reduce our emission under the Paris Agreement. So whatever you put in the NDC will be legally binding. And three AMS have already communicated their long-term strategy. So this is beyond 2030 because the NDCs is only for 2030, whereas the long-term strategy is beyond that and it's more towards 2050. And about 6 AMS have pledged for net zero, so including Brunei here. So yeah, which I will explain a little bit more later on. So in terms of Brunei's initiatives and also action on climate change. So Brunei is we're very small, as you know. So climate change impacts, it's something which is very scary for us because you know, our size and our location along the coast. So our exposure to climate change is very high, which makes us very, very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. If we looked at our historical trend, we can see that our temperature is increasing. Our rainfall pattern is also suggesting that there's changes in pattern. So all very much influenced by the changing climate. And we have also seen here the patterns of floods, forest fire, landslides, strong winds, all climate-induced hazards. It's also increasing, and we believe that this will be more and more aggressive as we go. So this is the projection that we've done. So this this is the projection for sea level rise. So our projection is that for Brunei, we will see about 1.1 increase in our sea level. So this is quite aligned with the global projection for sea level rise. And we have identified here that our key strategic areas will be underwater by the end of the century. So this is, as I mentioned earlier on, it is a very scary scene for us. So that's why, if you're wondering, Brunei is small, why are we very committed in terms of climate action? It is because we are very vulnerable and we have quite a high stake at not doing anything. So, yeah. Again, just to share that Brunei. So this is more on Brunei now. So our emission, our contribution to the global greenhouse gas emission is very, very small, and most of our greenhouse gas emission is from the energy sector. So you can see here, it's mainly for power generation. Both for industries and printing and firing, and also for landfill. The breakdown of the greenhouse gas types, majority is carbon dioxide, but we also have quite a volume of methane gas, mainly from our oil and gas operations. So this is, again, I think, very important for this forum, I guess, to discuss the opportunities for reduction of greenhouse gas emission in the energy sector, because the very least for Brunei here, the greenhouse gas emission contribution by the energy sector is very, very high. This is more on the sink side. So for Brunei, we are quite blessed. Although we have seen that our carbon sink, our forest coverage has decreased over the years, but it is still high enough to be able to absorb most of our carbon emissions. So we have a high sink of about 14.3 metric tons of, 13.9 metric tons of CO2 equivalent, and our emission is about 14.3. So we'll be able to absorb about 97% of our emission current. But this is for 2020, but of course, our emissions keep increasing, so this, not necessarily will be the case in the medium or the long term. I thought I'd put this up. This is the governance that we have. So this governance is what shaped our national climate action. So we have a governance of council. So we have a council which is championed by 4 ministries. So these are the ministries. So these are the ministries that have a direct influence on reducing greenhouse gas emission in Brunei. So we have Ministry of Development, we have Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Primary Resources and Tourism, and also Ministry of Transport and Communication. So it has been, this council has been very, very active in terms of providing direction, providing policies. And below that, we have the Executive Committee. So Executive Committee is mainly on permanent secretary level. So we have all the relevant ministries represented at the permanent secretary level, and we also have the private sectors in there, so like managing directors, and we also have Puja in there. So Puja is, I think you know Puja. So Puja is also a key member of the Executive Committee. I think it is very, we have acknowledged the important role that Puja played in terms of our national climate action. So just to share our emissions profile, I think this is very, very important, just to give you a little bit of background on why we are heading towards net zero. So I think as mentioned by the guest of honor this morning, that Brunei has been, and also the Muhammad Minister of Energy in his keynote this morning, that Brunei has been an oil and gas country for almost a century, and we have been carbon negative all this while. So you can see from the graph here. So only last year that we have started to go beyond our carbon sink value. So this has motivated us to go for net zero to ensure that we'll be able to reduce our emission back to pre-2020. Yeah, so this is what motivates us to move forward and move towards net zero. Okay, so we have launched our Brunei Darussalam National Climate Change Policy, BNCCP, last year. And this national policy is the basis of our NDC that we submitted or communicated to the National Policy last year. So we have outlined 10 key strategies. So these 10 key strategies will pave the pathway for Brunei Darussalam to reach our ultimate goal, which is a low carbon and climate resilient Brunei Darussalam. So if you can see here from all the 10 key strategies, we have different champions. So the champions is again across all the 4 ministries, which is part of the council. So we have, for instance, strategy number 1, industrial emission, strategy number 3, 4, and also 5, championed by the Minister of Energy. And then we have the Minister of Primary Resources that champions the strategy of forest cover. And then we have Minister of Development on Waste, and also we're working very closely with the Ministry of Education and Awareness Education. So this is really a whole of nation approach, and it has worked so far. And the whole process from preparation of the policy, implementation, monitoring, it has always been a whole of nation approach, and we work very, very closely with all the ministries and also the secondary stakeholders. Okay. So this is again to just to reiterate our commitment. So we have pledged to reduce 20% of our greenhouse gas emission by 2030 from the BAU level. And of course, as mentioned earlier on, by 2050, that will be net zero. So this is the pathway. This is preliminary here. I think similar to Malaysia approach, we have, although we have express our intention for net zero, but we are developing this slowly. And we are also aiming to communicate our long-term strategy by next year. So hopefully by then we'll have more concrete pathways in terms of how we're going to achieve net zero. But in a nutshell, this is what we're aiming for. So we're looking at continuing our focus on reducing methane gas from flaring and venting, and also increasing the deployment of renewable energy, especially with solar PV. So we're looking at on-land solar PV as well as floating solar PV, waste to energy. Carbon pricing will be instrumental in terms of shaping the whole net zero landscape. But we would start in the short term to provide a voluntary carbon offset mechanism, which we don't have at the moment. And eventually then by 2025, we will make carbon pricing mandatory. But then again, at this stage, we are still deciding on what mechanism or what type of carbon pricing that we'll be introducing. CCUS will also be a defining technology that can enable our net zero ambition. So we're looking at CCUS at facility level as well as at utility level. And the last one there is hydrogen. I don't know if you know this, but Brunei has a hydrogen plant currently, but although it's not blue or green, but I think what's important now is for us to familiarize, for us to build the capacity around the production of hydrogen, the transport of hydrogen. And the aim for hydrogen here is more for, not just for export, but also for domestic use. We'll be moving towards blue hydrogen and eventually to green hydrogen. So this is what we are envisioning for our net zero pathways by 2050. So since this is an energy forum, I thought I focus on the energy strategies. So the first one here on industrial emission, because as we saw earlier on, the major sector that contributes to our greenhouse gas emission is our energy sector. So we have identified the areas that would make the most impact in terms of our greenhouse gas reduction. So here we have a coalition of oil and gas operators. So you know we engage them very regularly to let them know that this is in our intention, and also to work very closely with them to ensure that we'll be able to achieve the reduction that we want from the oil and gas sector. EVs, electric vehicles. So electric vehicles is very new in Brunei. There's a random number 10 there, I think but 10 is actually the number of sales that we are actually targeting for this year. But I don't think we have reached 10. But again, as I mentioned, we are at a very, very early stage of EV. And right now, we are working on incentives to make EV more affordable, because at the current rate, EV it's quite expensive. Yeah, and we also have charging infrastructure installed, and the plan is to install more fast chargers next year. On renewable energy, so we have 2 large-scale solar PV. We have 1.2 megawatt, which is about almost 10 years old now. And we have a new one, a 3.3 megawatt solar PV plant, which is a project by the Brunei Shell Petroleum. This is to offset the energy use in their headquarters. And I think you can hear more about this project at the Young Engineer Forum tomorrow. And I also do know that this project is mainly run by young engineers in that company. The second one there is the small-scale solar PV. So we are also very actively installing small-scale PVs around the country, and with the focus of Tumburan district. So if you don't know, Tumburan district is our green jewel. So this is we want to maintain Tumburan as a green district. So you can see in the photo there have been quite a number of installation around the district on solar PV. The third one is net metering. So net metering is a policy which was introduced by the Ministry of Energy to enable electricity generation from solar PV. And this is to encourage people, to install solar PV on their rooftop, so that any surpluses that they make from that generation, they can sell it back to the grid. The last one is on energy management. So energy management is, again, I think this is low hanging fruit. Basically, how do we improve our consumption of electricity to ensure that we are prudent in terms of our energy consumption or electricity consumption. But the first one here is the installation of transmission cable. So right now, we have the Tumburon district, the Tumburon Bridge. So the Tumburon Bridge is one of the, I think it is, if not the longest bridge in ASEAN. So before that, Tumburon district it's not connected to the grid, but right now we are installing a transmission cable to ensure that we can connect the main grid to Tumburon district, so that we'll be able to decommission the diesel power plant. And the last one there is the energy efficiency standard enabling. So this is to ensure that any appliances in Brunei meets the minimum energy performance standards. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Puan Nordina Zarina, for the very wonderful presentation and also very informative presentation to all the benefits of our ASEAN members. Again, please give a round of applause to Puan Nordina Zarina for her wonderful presentation. Okay. Because we have a technical pitch with Engineer Francis Xavier earlier, so we would like to again invite Engineer Francis after our short break, okay, to give us the presentation for the updates in Malaysia, and I'll pass the floor to Ms. Wali to announce the second session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. Okay, we had a great presentation from our keynote speaker. Thank you very much. We will be going for a short break, and we'll be inviting our first keynote speaker, Engineer Francis, again after the short break. So we will commence back. It's 3:08 p.m. right now. We'll be seeing you back at 3:18. So thank you. Stay, continue to stay with us.
Wally, can you hear me now?
Yes, Engineer Francis.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just see whether I can share my screen. Must you allow me to share screen first?
I'm ready. You can test your screen now.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will be inviting you shortly.
Okay.
Thank you, Engineer Francis.
Okay, thank you. Slowly. Yes, yes. Uh-huh. Okay, okay, no problem. I had how many times no problem. Hmm. Okay, 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 no problem. Right.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to invite Mr. Alex Reed to continue the proceeding. Mr. Alex.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wali, and welcome back, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so for our next presentation, we would like to invite Ms. Suji Kang from the World Energy Council to give us the presentation on the introduction and overview of World Energy Council role and responsibilities in APEC region and sustainable energy. So let me quickly give you an introduction on Ms. Suji Kang. Ms. Suji Kang is the Council Regional Manager for Asia, and she's based in Korea. She's responsible for vitalizing activities of the national member committees in Asia, amplifying the Council's agenda and activities at the regional level. Ms. Suji also works for the Korea Energy Foundation as the Director of International Cooperation and External Affairs. She works closely with the government and energy organizations in Korea. She is a graduate of McGill Universities with a bachelor's degree in management and currently studying for Master of Science in Energy and Environment at the Korea University. She is also a native speaker in Korean and fluent in English and conversational French. So without further ado, join us in welcoming Ms. Suji to give her presentation for this afternoon. Ms. Suji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Can anybody put up my slide on, please? Or
Okay, just a moment. Ms. Bali is putting up the slide.
Thank you. Okay, so let me start. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank Alex for inviting me to this important event. My name is Suji, a regional manager Asia of the World Energy Council, and I'm delighted to be part of this ASEAN Energy Forum. I know that we have many engineers who are technology oriented and have exclusive specialty in these areas. But today, I would like to share a more general view around this energy society through a lens of global energy community. Next slide, please. So today, energy is front page news across the world, as everybody knows. A lot has changed in recent times, yet what we have learned as the world energy community over the last 100 years is more important than ever. First, energy is a system. Behind every button and fuel pump is a myriad of connections. Second, energy transition is a process, not a destination. It can't be delivered all in one go. Third, diversity in energy systems is increasing in the broadest sense, and this presents new possibilities and challenges in energy security. Fourth, the future of energy cannot be predicted, but better energy futures can be prepared for and co-created through a combination of innovation and cooperation involving all levels of diverse and connected energy societies. These 4 points are as true now as when the World Energy Council was first formed in the early 1920s. Next slide, please. Then the transitions to coal and oil were essential to save forests, whales, and in ushering a new era of energy for peace. Societies were grappling to recover from global influenza pandemic and about to experience the stock market crash followed by the Great Depression. The transition from steam power to electrification and life at the press of a button helped usher in an era of energy for prosperity. And the promise of clean and convenient energy uses enabled better quality lives for billions of people worldwide. Even after 100 years of electrification, however, billions of people lack access to energy. Our 100-year heritage in building the world energy community through 3 different world eras is unique. And the foundation for convening the new global common sense needed in today's era of energy for people and planet. We do not simply think about energy to predict winners, nor advocate for any country, company, or technology. We focus on the power to co-create energy systems for billions of better lives and a healthy planet, best achieved by building bridges between diverse energy needs and interests and addressing the growing risk of extreme polarization. Next slide, please. So, what does this mean for humanizing energy as an enabler of climate neutral pathways? As I mentioned, we've learned a lot in 100 years. As I noted at the start, energy technology transition always involves societal disruption and transformation. The next big thing in energy is not a global technology bet. That's why our community is making bold steps in humanizing energy with an increased focus on mobilizing the middle to move. It is encouraging to see the proliferation of net zero targets timelines, and promises of trillions of dollars. But real progress is not a cope-in commitment or a cope-down plan. Unless people and communities are and feel involved and feel that they can participate, the silent majorities of modern energy societies will simply cope out of the discussion and the process. Next slide, please. So let me say a word on our key World Energy Council focus areas, and as we plan for the year ahead. These are energy first, energy literacy. We cannot make progress in energy, including decarbonization, without a step change in energy literacy at all levels of society. A focus on skills and workforce. It is great that we now have so many roadmaps, but where are the road builders? The real people who will deliver the roadmaps? Next, community. I've heard, please move back to the previous slide. Yeah, community. I've heard a lot about trillions, technology, and timelines from Glasgow a few weeks ago, but I haven't heard so much about people and communities. Fourth, we have to have open user data platforms. We need greater transparency for transitions to be successful. So we need to better prepare all levels of diverse energy societies for the inevitable shift in social power structures as the world shifts to more sustainable energy and renewable power systems. That's why our humanizing energy vision and action agenda is focused on mobilizing the middle in this pivotal decade of delivery. There is a third P in public-private partnerships. It's people. While the people in this event are conversant in energy, that is not the case in societies around us. Most people do not understand that currently only 20% of energy uses are electrified and 100 renewables electrification by 2050 cannot be achieved. That's a challenge for all of us. So success for us all depends on involving more people and communities basically, while it's progressing multiple pathways in a common direction of more sustainable energy, climate neutrality, and social justice. Next slide, please. In this slide, I would like to share our insights from our key insight tools, starting with annual World Energy Issues Monitor and other insights activities, and the global trends that we have emerged. Now, in its 11th year, our annual World Energy Issues Monitor provides a global reality check, a snapshot of what's going on in this world energy market. It is an assessment of the global energy agenda based on hundreds and thousands of grassroots data points harvested from the views of energy leaders from across our energy community in more than 100 countries. It clarifies what is keeping energy leaders awake at night and busy during the day. So in 2021 Global Map, published at the start of this year, shows, amongst many insights, the dramatic impact of the COVID-19 crisis. First, economic and financial uncertainties dominate the issues at the top of the mind for energy leaders, stemming from the ongoing reverberations of the pandemic. These are followed closely by cybersecurity and carbon abatement technologies, notably carbon capture and storage. Renewable energies and energy efficiency have increased their importance as action priorities. Affordability, of course, has rapidly risen up the industry's priority list. At the same time, we are seeing the emergence of a new generation of digital energy services and energy entrepreneurs, agile, disruptive, and often customer-centric technologies taking advantage of societal upheaval. We're clearly seeing a growing awareness among energy industry leaders of the unavoidable truth that we must humanize our energy systems and address new energy justice concerns to be successful. Next slide, please. So digging deeper with this issues monitor tool, we can also contrast the regional differences in perspective, looking at critical uncertainties, which are those things that keep leaders awake at night. Across Asia, we are seeing a unique focus on concerns around energy storage, while leaders in Latin America are concerned with market design, and the Middle East concerns center around big data and the Internet of Things. Next slide, please. So turning to our action priorities, which are those key things that leaders do in the day. Action priorities here in Asia include innovations in transport, while those in Africa are hard at work on the investor environment, and North America deals with land and water availability. So these differences reinforce that there is no single race to net zero. There are in fact multiple pathways being progressed with tremendous geographical and technological diversity. And these are proved by thousands of energy experts across the global energy market through this one of our most important tools called Issues Monitor. Next, please. So we have another interesting tool called Energy Trilemma. Our ability to join the dots between multiple agendas and stakeholders is unique in helping government, businesses, and communities face three significant cross-cutting challenges: recovering from crisis, repairing our planet, and regenerating our societies. One of our leadership tools, the World Energy Trilemma Index, was launched more than a decade ago. So it basically enables individual countries and diverse regions to learn about and learn from each other about what's working and what's not working in progressing energy transition. It measures and tracks policy performance in terms of energy security, environmental sustainability, and energy affordability and equity. So current debates around the price of energy and full costs of transition have exposed the thickness of managing energy security, sustainability, and affordability as energy systems become more diverse, digitalized, decentralized, and decarbonized. As I've already said, we've learned a lot in 100 years, and the fifth lesson we will all need to bear in mind is that energy technology transition always involves societal disruption and transformation. So the world needs solutions for many, the bottom third and the middle classes, not just the fortunate few. A clean, affordable, resilient, and sustainable energy future will involve new uses, behaviors, new policy design approaches, and institutional innovation. And few people in societies today are prepared for the real choices and depth of change involved. And there is no silver or green technology bullet. And we, as the World Energy Council, as a global community of the energy market, the biggest global community, we are here to combine all different energy societies and communities to work together to achieve this carbon neutrality and sustainable future while we are securing energy security. Next, please. So we are also focusing on development of national hydrogen strategies. Over the summer, we published an innovation insights briefing titled as Hydrogen on the Horizon, Ready, Almost Set, Go. The paper was prepared in collaboration with US Electric Power Research Institute, EPRI, who you heard maybe many times, and who I'm also delighted to say is acting as host to the World Energy Council Member Committee in the United States. The brief shares various hydrogen demand scenarios, country and regional level priorities, and identifies important enablers and barriers for large-scale hydrogen development. Countries' views on hydrogen's potential role in the energy transition are vastly different from the national hydrogen strategies, showing significant differences across the world. A comparative assessment of existing worldwide hydrogen demand scenarios shows estimates vary between 5 and 20% of final worldwide energy consumption. Asia shows a greater focus on hydrogen as a liquid fuel in the form of ammonia and as a transport fuel for shipping and road transport. In contrast, Europe is more focused on using hydrogen to decarbonize the hard-to-abate sectors in industry and transport. For example, heavy industries, HGVs, mass transportation. Meanwhile, the Americas are considering production for their own consumption and export. With the hydrogen economy in this stage, governments face the classic chicken and egg conundrum, whether to focus on the demand side or supply side of the hydrogen equation. Clean molecules, including hydrogen, as well as electrons, will be part of any realistic energy transition across all geographies. Next slide, please. So, our 100 years of learning in energy is why the theme of St. Petersburg World Energy Congress next year in October 2022 is Energy for Humanity. I'm very excited to invite all of you to this exclusive event, which will be held in St. Petersburg. We will also celebrate the role of communities, countries, and companies in building forward together. And we will also demonstrate why public, private, and people partnerships are the best way to ensure diverse and connected energy societies flourish together through energy transition and transformation. So let me conclude with an invitation to see you all in St. Petersburg in October 2022, which is next year, to share what has been achieved in this decisive decade of delivery and to continue our discussions on humanizing energy for harmony between people and planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sujita, for the World Energy Council on the very insightful presentation on introduction and overview of World Energy Council's role and responsibility in APEC region and sustainable energy. Okay, so now we'll move on to our next speaker for this afternoon. I'd like to quickly introduce to you His Excellency Dr. Chan Sodawa from the Ministry of Mines and Energy of Cambodia. Dr. Chan is the Under-Secretary of State in charge of the Energy Techniques and Business Policy in Nuclear Science and Technology of the Ministry of Mines and Energy, MME, of Cambodia since 2018. He had 26 years of experiences in power development plans, power sector development, and power project development, implementation, and management as well. Its key qualification area are business administration and management, electrical power system management, electrical power supply for industry, which includes generation, transmission, distribution, renewable energy infrastructure, as well as nuclear and ionizing application promotion. Dr. Chan obtained his doctoral degree in the field of business administration and master's degree in the field of electrical power system management and engineering degree in electrical power supply for industry and handicraft. So without further ado, I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Chan to give us a presentation on the ASEAN renewable energy challenges and opportunities. Dr. Chan, the floor is yours.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much for your introduction. And first of all, I'd like to thanks to the IEM, to the CAFEO 39 who provide me the floor to join the presentation for today. My presentation today is on the ASEAN renewable energy development challenges and opportunities. My name is Chan Sudawat. I am from the Ministry of Mines and Energy of Cambodia. As you may aware that the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asia nation, ASEAN, set the target of 23% of its primary energy from renewable energy sources by 2025, while the energy demand in the region is expected to grow by 50% in the next decades. With the declination cost of the renewable energy generation, such as wind, solar PV, and the battery storage, ASEAN region may reach its goals in a cost-effective and sustainable manner. In the pre-pandemic of COVID-19, renewable energy infrastructure investment in ASEAN has been strong, reflecting the government effort to reduce the carbon emissions, as well as due to the low cost involved, given the cheaper technology and economy of scale. The renewable energy is already on the forefront of the minds of the policymakers and investors in the regions. These slides, I just would like to share a little bit on the energy generation for Cambodian context. As of 12.5 terawatt-hour electricity generation in 2020, renewable energy has shared about 30% already in the fuel mix. Currently, solar photovoltaics, biomass, hydro is actively in electricity generation to supply to our power grid and off grids. These slides, I just try to define what is the ASEAN renewable energy challenges. The key challenges of ASEAN renewable energy development are but not limited to the following point. The first point is project cost is expensive. The development of the renewable energy projects in ASEAN member state is mostly expensive projects. Currently, in most of the ASEAN member states have lack of experience and expertise in evaluation at risk of the renewable energy investment, and which cause the obstacle to the renewable energy investment and risk management. Second point is the lack of financial support. The lack of private and public fund financial support has made the renewable energy sectors as an unattractive sectors. This maybe the bank or the private investor may not been attracted by development this renewable project as in general yet. Thirdly, the lack of regulatory framework and policy. The regulatory framework and its development policy is very important. So the lack of this framework and the development policy is the major barrier and hurdle to the development of the renewable sectors. Fourthly, the lack of coordination amongst government agencies and the development institution is a factor which hinder the implementation of the renewable energy sectors. The other challenges on the geographical and technical conditions are another challenges faced by sectors development, and example, the case of the Philippines and Indonesia. The other point is limited of infrastructure capacity and electricity grid, which is the technical barrier. The limited of infrastructure capacity and electricity grid is a hinder to the effective renewable energy development. Number 7, the monopoly of the transmission, distribution, and its system operators. The vertical integration of the transmission, distribution, and system operators as a monopoly market also another obstacle to attract the interest of the potential investors on renewable energy development. And the last point of challenges, but not least, it is the lack of the awareness and public support, which is the major barrier and to the renewable energy sectors in the ASEAN member state as well. So this is the list of the renewable energy development challenges that I just try to pick out to list us here. Next is the next slide will be the ASEAN renewable energy opportunities in the ASEAN regions. The identified challenges and on the renewable energy development phases by the ASEAN member states are creating the new and emerging opportunity for investors, government, and the private sectors. So here are the list of the opportunity that I just try to show here. The first opportunity is that the exploring and deploying of the new technologies, especially on the like solar, floating solar farms, the solar panels on the building facades, mobile grid, solar wind, and storage. So the new technology are in place, and more new technology is deployed. That it is good for the opportunity of the development of the renewable energy sectors in the ASEAN. Secondly, the increase of investment in renewable energy, simplifying the electricity pricings, adopting net metering system, adopting more feed-in system, and offering the financial incentive. Previous speakers, Dina, she has mentioned that Brunei government of Brunei has set up the net metering system. That this is a part to attract the surplus energy from the rooftop household may supply back to the system. That one is a good point for the ASEAN development on renewable energy. The third point, the development banks and investors are aggressively developing and executing the large-scale and microgrid and microgrid projects. We may aware that the development banks, for example, ADB, the World Banks, and some other commercial banks also very actively in the developing of this utility scale or large scale renewable energies. The other point, the development bank has also involved with the improvement of the renewable energy products within the regions. This is the example of the World Bank, who provide the certificate of quality for the solar PV producers in Myanmar. The fifth point, the increase in global interconnection of power system to benefit the large-scale renewable power generation. Recently I have read on some newspaper that Singapore is thinking about the importing the power, the renewable energy power from the Australia, and bring by submarine and crossing many few power system and connecting finally to Singapore. So this is a very big ambitious project. The sixth point, the government giving the ambitious energy planning for the ASEAN member state. This would be the opportunity for the development of the renewable energy, especially for solar PV, wind, and modern bioenergies. That now Vietnam, Thailand, and some other countries very good outstanding on the development of the solar PV, wind, and Thailand may be a good place for the modern bioenergies. Last point of the opportunity, there is a large portion of the ASEAN region that still need electrification, and off-grid solar energy is one option to achieve the 100% of electrification ratio for their individual countries. So this is the opportunities. And this is my last but not least. The acceleration in development of the renewable energy in the region will be huge contribution to the environment, economic, and social benefits. Reduction of air pollution and tackling of climate change is our concern to save our world. And policymakers and development actors should coordinate closely in terms of the development of the clean, renewable, reliable, and affordable energy across the region. This is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Dr. Chan, for the wonderful presentation on the ASEAN renewable energy challenges and opportunities. Dr. Chan, I would also like to request Your Excellency to stay back for our APIO Energy Forum discussion later. Okay, so we'll move on to our next presentation. Apologize for the technical glitch earlier. Again, we would like to invite Engineer Francis Xavier Jacob to give his keynote presentation for the updates on renewable energy as well as energy efficiency in Malaysia. Engineer Francis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Can you hear me now?
Yes, very clear, Francis.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. This topic, energy situation in ASEAN economics. This paper actually was updated version presented at the earlier forum by myself and Alex, but it's an updated version with latest figures. Okay, the first part will look into ASEAN as a whole, but the data is mainly got from the 6th ASEAN Energy Outlook prepared by the ASEAN Center of Energy. And the second part will deal with individual countries, where the data comes from the energy metrics, which is actually developed by the CAFEO Energy Work Group. Actually, it's developed by Institution Engineers Malaysia, and the person in charge is our moderator, Alex Louis. Okay, we look in terms of ASEAN, we are more than about 650 million people, where about more than half of young people, less than 30 years of age, and most of them living in rural areas. The GDP of about 7 trillion in 2017, expect to reach 20 trillion by 2040. And economy is 6th largest in the world and the 3rd largest in Asia. Why I say all this is, it's an important economic force in Asia, a driver for global growth, and I said earlier, very young population with many other living in rural areas. That means in the future, energy demand will grow as a younger generation grow up and
Cannot hear the sound. Cannot hear the sound.
Can I hear?
Engineer Francis, I think your microphone, probably you can try to speak closer to the mic.
Okay. Is it better now? No, can I hear? Can you hear me now?
Now it's okay.
Okay. But the problem is the ASEAN currently depends a lot on fossil fuel. The major coal producing region exporter. Okay. We are already a net importer of crude oil. At the moment, you cannot already a net importer of crude oil. And with additional requirements, growth of use of crude oil, the significant imports of crude oil will be required. We already import 40% of primary energy supply. But the problem is, in 2017, about 18 million of our households lack electricity access, and about 140 million people still use traditional biomass for cooking. The challenge is how to get good energy supplies for all these people. And if this trend continues, energy demand will grow, mainly met by fossil fuel, which means greenhouse gas emissions will increase. Basically, that means we need to go more aggressively in energy efficiency and renewable energy. Talking about, this 6th Energy Outlook has 4 scenarios: baseline scenario, target scenario, progressive scenario, and sustainable energy development scenario. And total final energy consumption is expected to grow by about 146% by 2040, the baseline scenario, and met basically by heavy reliance on fossil fuel, which is not too good. In terms of energy efficiency and renewable energy, as pointed out here, our political leaders given good emphasis for it. Our latest plan of action, ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, have a target of 3% share of renewable energy of the total primary energy supply. and 32% reduction in energy intensity by 2025 compared to the 2005 levels. Again, this is very common knowledge. Energy efficiency, renewable energy has a multiplier effects in terms of creation of local jobs, poverty alleviation, improved health, higher exports of fossil fuel, and reducing public expenditure. And since ASEAN economies are still relatively early stages of development, we can fully exploit the benefits of energy efficiency, renewable energy. Especially, let's say, we all know for a building, an old building, how hard it is to retrofit it to make it more energy efficient. There's a new building, easy for us to incorporate all these features in. But the general consensus is for us to meet our renewable energy targets, our countries need stronger efforts than what we have seen so far. And these are the targets: energy efficiency in the target scenario, energy intensity of the economy to reduce by about 28.9% in 2025 compared to 2005, and by 43% by 2040. Renewable energy target 18% by 2025 and 22% by 2040. Okay. This gives the contribution of renewable energy in the various sectors in terms of graph. And some examples of energy efficiency in the industrial sector: higher efficiency equipment, heat loss recovery, industrial restructuring, going to lower intensity manufacturing. Okay, and then in the transport sector, the total final energy consumption is expected to show an 18% decrease in the target sector compared to the business usual scenario, and some of the measures there: improving energy performance, hybrid vehicles, and so on. In the residential sector, the total final energy consumption improvement is focused on home appliances and lighting. And in that sense, cooling appliances, refrigerators, air conditioners, and fans will account for about 57% of the residential energy consumption in 2040 in the business as usual scenario. So some are the measures to promote efficient air conditioners, the competitive pricing mechanism, and eco-labeling policies. Some of the targets there. In the baseline scenario, total primary energy supply is expected to be 2.5 times in 2017. That is about 1,589 million ton oil equivalent compared to 2025. Coal shows the strongest growth rate of cumulative annual growth rate about 4.8%. Gas and oil shows a growth rate about 4%. And renewable energy has an annual growth rate of 4.2%. Second only to gold. This is promising, but I guess more has got to be done. Oil has the most share, which is bad. And coal in this scenario increases from 22% to 25%, again very bad for the environment. Gas use increases by 20% in 2017 to 21% in 2040. All fossil fuel account for about 84% of total primary energy supply in 2040. Bad. And renewable energy only account for about 14% by 2040. And the baseline scenario in terms of environmental outlook, baseline scenario will give a lot of CO2 emissions, air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions increase from about 1,700 megatons of CO2 equivalent in 2017 to about 4,117 megatons in 2040, million tons. And electricity and transport sector will account for about 28% and 25% respectively for gas emissions. And these will have great impact on the public health. power generation mix in 2017 in terms of gas, coal, and oil. And then by 2040, hydropower is expected to increase its share of generation mix, but the other renewables will continue with very little share. Non-hydropower renewable energy installed capacity is projected to be increased by 54 gigawatts in 2025 and 110 gigawatts in 2040. And some of this, what I said in graph form, you all can have a look at it in your own time. Okay, these are the latest updates from the energy metrics for Brunei. Our RIP target by 10% by 2035, and EE target to reduce energy intensity by 45% in 2035 compared to 2005 levels. Cambodia, RE capacity target of 2,241 mini large hydro by 2020, and EE target to reduce total final energy consumption by 20% in 2035 compared to the business as usual case. Indonesia, RE target by 23% in 2035, and EE target to reduce total final energy consumption in 2025 by 17% in industry and 20% in transport, 15% in household, and 15% in commercial buildings as compared to the business as usual scenario. Laos, RE target of 30% by 2025, EE target of reduce total final energy consumption by 10% in 2030 compared to the business as usual scenario. This is Malaysia. Our RE target 31% by 2025, which includes large hydro, and EE target reduction of 36% by 2030. Myanmar, RE target of 9% by 2030. EE target to reduce energy consumption by 20% in 2030 as compared to the business as usual scenario. Philippines, RE target of 20 gigawatts by 2040. EE target is a measurable reduction in energy intensity and consumption per year versus the business as usual scenario. Singapore, RE target by 24% or 20,000 megawatts in by 2021. Oh, this is the what is the present situation, I guess. And EE target reduce energy intensity by 35% from 2005 levels by 2030. Thailand, RE target of 30% by 2036. EE target reduce energy intensity by 30% in 2030 compared to 2010 level. Vietnam, RE target of 21% by 2020. Energy efficiency target to reduce total final energy consumption by 8% in 2020 compared to the business as usual scenario. Basically, that is my presentation for the energy situation in ASEAN economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis Xavier, for the insightful presentation on the ASEAN energy updates. Okay, so now we will have come to the CAFEO Energy Forum session, which we will have a 20 minutes session with our panelists. And I would like to invite Engineer Francis Xavier, as well as His Excellency Dr. Chan Sodawa, to join us as a forum panelist for this forum discussion on the ASEAN future fuel mix towards the cleaner energy system as well as climate change. Okay, so right now the Q&A session is being opened up. So in the chat box, if you have any questions, please type in your questions in the chat box, and I will read out the relevant questions to our panelists for this afternoon for the forum discussion. We have one question from Mr. Arnell. It is much appreciated if the next forum is about waste to energy. Yeah, this system should be feasible to the ASEAN countries in line with the global climate change strategy. Thank you very much for the idea as well as the proposal. I think for our next energy forum discussion, we will include the waste to energy system for the discussion. Okay, next question is from Engineer Muhammad Isa. Question number 1. There have been so many meetings of the World Energy Congress, but we still cannot reduce the emission, and climate temperature is still on the rise. So these are the calls from developed countries, and unless these countries are changing their field, only can we arrest the climate change as well as the rising temperature. Probably I would like to invite maybe Engineer Francis to give your idea on this question.
Okay, you rightly pointed out that we seem to be very heavily dependent on fossil fuel. I mean, even the ASEAN energy outlook kind of predicts that by 2040, it'll be so. But don't be so discouraged as we move forward. One of the important things is the economic aspects of it. We are still developing. Okay, granted, this will have more greenhouse gas emissions, but compared to the developed countries, we are very young. I think our total emissions from industrial revolution onwards is not as much as them. So while we take efforts to go towards it, let's do it in a more realistic manner and a more economic manner. Okay, that's my take on this.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis. I would like to also invite Dr. Chan for your input on this question as well.
Thank you once again, Alex. From my opinion, that in the ASEAN region, now we are in the early stage to start to tackle on the climate change. And in our region also consider and prepare for the next until 2040 or 2030 to see the outcome of our preparation from today. Yeah, this is my input for that.
Thank you for your input, Dr. Chan. Read out the next question. In Cambodia, the renewable energy is still relatively expensive and not very affordable. Maybe Dr. Chan, would you like to elaborate more on the renewable energy development in Cambodia?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is right. But the development of renewable energy is not the cheap way of development. But some country, the government have provided some incentive or some kind of support or some other means. But in Cambodian case, the government have not provided a program of the incentive or any financial support yet. But in some part, our renewable energy, for example, some like mini hydro or some hydro project, it is comparable with the other country. It means that it's not always expensive. So, but only the others, for example, like the solar PV or wind turbine or battery storage, relatively expensive because no incentive from the government yet.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your input. I'll read out the next question. Based on the presentation of ASEAN energy situation, it seems that ASEAN cannot get away from fossil fuel. Please elaborate on this. I'd like to invite Engineer Francis to elaborate.
This is very similar to my response to the earlier question. Because I mean, if we list that market forces to take effect, I think most of us will go for fossil fuel based energy because it's cheaper. And for us, and we are not very rich economies compared to developed countries. So let us go along these lines, but mindful of the fact that we'll try to go into renewable energy while we can afford it, or we can spend the money to develop it and to sustain it. And in the future, okay, fossil, this is very traditional, very classic kind of analysis. While right now, energy from fossil fuel seems to be cheaper than from renewable energy sources. In the future, I guess as fossil fuel supply decreases, this price will definitely increase. And renewable energy, photovoltaic, even hydro and all that, well, technology is a bit expensive now. In future, with more research and more economies of scale, energy from renewable energy will come down. So once the crossover point is reached, I guess then the uptake of renewable energy will increase anywhere in the world, including our region. But for the moment, let us be practical and let us go along these lines, even if it means using more fossil fuel for the moment. Again, that's my take on this. Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis. Dr. Chan, would you also like to provide some input on this question?
Alex. If you may, if you see in the effort of the government of the ASEAN member state, we try to reduce of the rely on the fossil fuel, and some country they maximize to increase to develop like the large scale of renewable energies. In the long term, the government of the member state may consider to find the other ways, but the other way means that try to avoid of using the fossil fuel by doing some kind of energy efficiency, energy conservation, and some others like the vehicle for they switch to EV and to hydrogen like that. But of course, I still think that fossil fuel will be dominate in the portion in our energy mix in the next 10 years or something in our region. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input, Dr. Chan. We'll move on to our next question. Hydrogen technologies, the green hydrogen technologies, and also industrial 4.0 has been, the in trend today in the development of energy efficiency as well as renewable energy development. So, in your opinion, what do you think would drive these enablers and these technology? Any other technology which other than hydropower, solar power, any other technology which actually drive these renewable energy as well as the integration of industry 4.0 in development of renewable energy. Engineer Francis, would you like to give some points?
Okay, this is a very wide question. But in terms of hydrogen, I think many people think of hydrogen as a fuel. Actually, hydrogen is not a fuel by itself. Yes, it's a fuel, but it's actually basically like an energy carrier. That means we need energy to produce hydrogen, unless they're producing from methane and all that fossil-based energy. But even we do from electrolysis or for anything else, we need energy to produce hydrogen. So basically, hydrogen is a carrier. But at the point of use, it could be very clean. When you burn hydrogen, you just get water as a byproduct and all that. It's very, but then it all depends on how we produce it. For those countries like even Sarawak, which have a lot of hydro energy, which cannot be used at the moment for industries and all that, will be they have a very good source of energy to produce hydrogen, which can make the final energy sector a bit more cleaner. I can just think, I don't know what are the other technologies, maybe battery energy storage and all that. So I think it's part of this equation. Same like hydrogen, even battery storage, especially if you have a lot of hydro potential, even solar energy, which is peak during daytime, whereas you may need to use it during the night time. Then this battery energy storage technology is also play a big role in increasing uptake of the renewable energy, renewable energy. Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis. I think to add on also with the integration of smart meters as well as smart grid, we can further optimize the integration of battery energy storage system with solar farm as well. Okay. Thank you, Engineer Francis, for your insightful inputs. Next, I would also like to invite Dr. Chan to give some key points on this question as well. Dr. Chan?
Yeah, in terms of the hydrogen, this is the technology that maybe I have knowledge on this just a little, so I cannot touch upon on this. But I think it is one of the options for the energy generation in our future energy mix. By the way, you know, in our region, we have vast of energy primary source. For example, like bioenergy, you know, Thailand is a maybe good place for production of bioenergy. This is some document showing that. And also the other option, for example, we never think about the solar heating concentration. And the tidal project, and maybe some geothermal also the point that we may consider, because the Philippines also has a lot of geothermal resources. The other technology that it may be more interesting is solar, wind, and the storage. This is one the other option that we can have the run as a base load or something to it can be relied on also. Yeah, of course, like one of our audience mentioned about waste to energy, also part of the option for that future. The other option with regarding to the smart grid and also smart energy management also have a lot in our energy dealing in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chan, for the key point. I think I have to agree with you as well. We also, aside from hydrogen technology, we also have other energies that we can look into, alternative energies such as bioenergy, which can further develop into biofuel or biomethane or bio-CNG for use for vehicle transportation as well. So these are the alternative energy fields that we can also look into to further develop in the ASEAN region. Okay, so now I have another comment from our participant, from Mr. Janu. For the future session, we would also like to include the presentation on energy efficiency improvement opportunities, such as for residential, commercial, or manufacturing industry, and other energy consuming facility. learning from the best practices. Thank you very much for the comment. I think that would also be one of the very wonderful idea for our next forum session to provide some case studies and also share the knowledge and experiences to our participants. Next, we'll move on to the next question from Mr. Arnell. Okay, one of the HVAC heat ventilation and air conditioning equipment, which is often overlooked, is the window air conditioner. In some buildings, particularly the condominium, because this contributes heat island effect. So the question is, are there any program or studies from the ASEAN countries to regulate the use of window air conditioner, particularly if the overall cooling load consumption of the building is more than the maximum cooling load of the single central air conditioning unit? In other countries, is it already regulated? Probably I would like to invite Engineer Francis on this. I think in Malaysia, I think window air conditioner is not very common here.
Is it very common, Alex, in Malaysia?
Especially for the very old
buildings, the split aircons and all that. But then, I guess, as I mentioned in my presentation, ASEAN is looking into, by 2040, refrigerators, air conditioners, and fans, the cooling appliances will account for about, is expected to account for a lot, more than half, 57% of total residential energy consumption. So the measures, some of the measures which are being thought of or being planned are promoting efficient air conditioners, either by competitive price mechanism or equal labeling policies. I guess even technology will improve the efficiency of all these appliances, provided that there's a demand for it and consumers demand for that, and the government promotes it through policies like having star rating program. Making people going for more of a 5-star air conditioners and all that, which will incorporate some of these more efficient technologies. I guess that's all we can do. But then, in terms of, but generally, my personal opinion is, if people need air conditioning for their comfort, let's go for it. Because we want our people to enjoy what good energy can provide them in terms of good lifestyle. But then we need to do it more efficiently, and that's it. However, even if the energy demand increases, let's use it efficiently and let the people enjoy the benefits of good cooling for their lifestyles. That's my opinion again.
Thank you very much, Engineer Francis. Fully agree with you on this one. I think most of the ASEAN countries have already implemented the star rating or the minimum energy performance standard for most of the home appliances or equipment, including air conditioner unit. And of course, we can also develop standard. I think in Malaysia, we also have a standard for energy efficiency. And for the comfortable temperature, always set it at 24 degrees Celsius. So these are, I think, definitely these are some of the things that we can look into in ASEAN to develop harmonized standards and also looking into minimizing the gaps between the standards. Okay, next I would also like to invite Dr. Chan to provide some input on these window air conditioner units, probably in Cambodia. What are the practice, and are these air conditioner regulated in Cambodia?
Yeah, Alex, actually, I have very less knowledge on the window air conditioning. But as part of the national energy efficiency that now being drafted and final draft is being circulated for consultation. Part of that that energy efficiency document, the government will think about the regulating on the billing on the cooling facility, for example, the air conditioners, refrigerators, and some others. After the document, the National Energy Efficiency document approved, then we will take action on that. But at this stage, Cambodia doesn't have any program for labeling yet. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for the key points, Dr. Chan. I think that wraps up our forum discussion. It's now at 4:30 p.m. And again, I would like to thank Engineer Francis Xavier and as well as His Excellency Dr. Chan Sudawat for your contribution in the keynote as well as presentation earlier, as well as joining us as the panelists for the forum discussion. So we will have a 10 minutes break right now, and we'll come back at 4:40 p.m. Okay, our next session will be the announcement of the winner of the ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021. So please do not miss this because we will also invite our winners to also give a short presentation on the topic or the project they have submitted for this ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We have now come to our second session, announcing of the winner for the ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021 in conjunction with CAFEO 39. May I welcome Engineer Francis to read out the winners. Engineer Francis, the floor is yours. Engineer Francis, can you hear me? Next, can you hear me? Can nobody hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Wally, can you put up the slides?
Engineer Francis.
Okay, friends and ladies and gentlemen, this ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021. The main purpose of this challenge is to raise awareness for young engineers, entrepreneurs, and engineering students, especially final year students who are conducting scientific research and practical work, to encourage them to be passionate about sustainable, innovative development and to actively seek technical solutions for sustainable energy development with technologies such as digital technologies for tackling climate change and promoting the voice and influence of young engineering talents at the regional and the national levels. Okay. Okay, we come to announce the winners for the ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021. The second runners-up is Flow Technology Private Limited from Singapore with a team of Powering Tomorrow. And the first runner-up is the Wakaf Solar Project. This project is a charitable endowment for sustainable income for the operation of mosques in and religious institutions in Johor Bahru. They are the first runner-up. Okay. And the winner for this challenge is the Irrigation Water Utilization Management Department, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation, Union of Myanmar, the project on energy sustainability. Okay, we give a virtual round of applause for them and congratulations to them for being to emerge as the winner for this challenge.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Francis. Okay, just a small correction. The runner-up, the name of the company that won the first runner-up is Gading Kencana Sdn Bhd. Okay, sorry for the did not announce just now. So we now move forward to the sharing session. The first speaker will be representing from Irrigation and Water Utilization Management Department, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation, Union of Myanmar. I'd like to invite Mr. Win Hood to make a short presentation on his winning project.
Good afternoon. Manglawa to all distinguished guests, delegates, and participants from Asean member, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mr. Winter, Director of Mechanical of Irrigation and Water Utilization Management Department, Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation, Myanmar. First and foremost, I would like to thank the panelists and AFEO Energy Work Group for your great contribution on sustainable energy and climate change, and I would United Nations Sustainable Development Goal and selection of champion award for our submission of this project. I would like to share briefly the project information, aspiration, and this contents. Our Irrigation and Water Management Department takes responsibility for the provision of irrigation water demands and production work to achieve agriculture objectives. Some of completed reservoirs are multi-purpose and will generate hydropower as well as irrigation. This project is approached to regional development plan of Chin State and to find water pollution near the village for producing electricity with hydropower, clean water supply for multiple crop cultivation of highland plants, and developing levee standard with the assistance of the local technology and material available in the local market. It is community designed, propagated, and constructed by Irrigation Department. It is zero impact to the environment and easy to make locally, with the encouragement and fully support innovation and creativity. This project intended to gain rural electrification in mountainous rural area of Myanmar, also provide water for irrigation, drinking purpose, and household utility to mountainous rural area. Project provides mainly to enhance local prosperity, poverty alleviation, and promote the living standard of the poor and rural area of mountainous Chin State, not covered by the national grant. Project location of Tiki Dam is mountainous Tiki Village in Tantalan Township, Hakka District, Chin State, inhabit a mountain chain which roughly covers western Myanmar through to Mizoram and northern East India and small part of Bangladesh. Chin State remains the poorest state among 40 regions and states of Myanmar, with 73% of the people living below the poverty line. Combined with the difficulty in accessing the area and many villages, community prioritize support of renewable electrification, hydropower, and solar panel, especially for their children to be able to study. Most households use candle and fossil fuel light at night, and also to improve water provision, agriculture, fund, and drinking water, especially during dry and winter season. This project is intended to supply 350 households electrification of Tiki Village, 65 kilometer distance from national grid. The design data is provided to micro hydropower project. The technology of design and construction of micro hydropower plants by using irrigation water is similar to hydropower plant technology. As you know, irrigation supply water from country is converted into mechanical energy by runner of hydro turbine to drive rotor of the electrical generator. From the design data, water storage capacity of Tiki reservoir within put the water level and minimum operation water level is 1,265 acre-feet, and design water discharge from conduit is 10 meter cube per second. Design discharge for cross-flow type hydro turbine operation is 0.5 meter cube per second, and hence cost sufficient for installed capacity 50 kilowatt micro hydropower plant throughout the year. We select the design criteria of turbine, generator, and install site and transmission speed ratio as mentioned in table. From the turbine selection table, for low head or impulse turbine cross-flow type was chosen for this project, as the cross-flow type is most suitable for low head dam and runner river type can be easily installed and adapted for local people who live in local grid area and mountainous area, could be performed with the high effectiveness to generate electricity. as per mission design data. To be energy sustainability, we consider all aspects of economic, environment, and social point. This project is fulfillment of main objective of sustainable energy with environmental sustainability, energy security, and energy equity to promote the creatively sustainable energy sector and to promote the CO2 emission reduction about 280 tons per year to develop better environment in this region. By economically, the project investment cost will be paid back within 7.5 years, and we can get the electricity all of free or charge with a small amount of operation and maintenance costs, and also introduce new job and business. Benefit for the user is not only by an economic point of view, but also for the social livelihood development, such as recreation, watching TV, and better learning for students. It can be seen that micro hydropower system application has many benefits for country and rural development. The cost of investment operating maintenance is much cheaper. The electrification with micro hydropower system can create the opportunity of the rural people for the better social economic condition. It can also enhance the development of new business opportunities, get the chance for further development for small business. The installation, operation, and maintenance of micro hydropower by using irrigation is easily managed by the local people. In the design consideration, Piggy Dam has net height 20 meters. Irrigation conduit outlet design discharge is 0.5 meter cube per second to 2 meter cube per second. Hydro turbine required design discharge is 0.5 meter cube per second for installed capacity 50 kilowatt and 350 household electrification with network 10 kilometers. Around. In addition, with the help of suitable micro hydro turbine and generator accessory, water control gate, control bar, and penstock pipe available in local market and easy to manufacture at mechanical workshop or irrigation department are the real origin of this project started to be implemented. It is completely designed, fabricated, and constructed by irrigation department, and village executive committee have to take responsibility to run the plant by themselves. After completion of startup and test running, interested persons of village executive committee have been trained for operation and maintenance of the plant successfully. This micro hydropower plants can operate around the clock for the whole year, except for maintenance service 1 day for a month, 30 days for a year to maintain irrigation system. The operation hour of the hydropower plant could be obtained sustainable 340 days per year and 5,440 hours per year since 2017 have been installed. The installation and operation of micro hydropower plant by using irrigation water is easily managed by the local people after short training. They can grab some knowledge and experience on the plant and could be referred for the operation and maintenance of the scheme. According to these advantages, the villagers organized committee could operate and manage by themselves since the plant was handed over to them. The working function and operation are easy to catch up by every villager as it is so simple. It could be easily to be noticed by everyone passing by for malfunction of the system, so that they could inform to the most concerned personnel for maintenance and repair. In this way, villagers can participate in the regular maintenance of the system. In conclusion, the renewable energy, also called sustainable energy, is the most popular term in the early 21st century after the threat of global warming and climate change by the effect of carbon emission. Rural electrification development by this project plays a significant role in enhancing local prosperity over the elevation and promoting the living standard of the urban and rural area of mountainous Chin State, not covered by the national grid. By combination of micro hydropower plant, it will become as a mega hydropower project, and it is also expected to boom the cottage industry near water resources. With this easy to do technology, almost free operation and maintenance scheme, and zero CO2 emission with low investment, the high reliability of this project surely will be easily spread to all from the nearby to the whole country as well within a short period. Hence, The electrification located particularly micro hydropower project is the best winner or champion of sustainability model for Asean Sustainable Energy Challenge 2021 is to benefit and support to the rural electrification and rural development for Myanmar and ASEAN region. Finally, I would like to express my special thanks to host country for your excellent arrangement in all aspects. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Okay, our challenge organizers will be in contact with you for further information on this. All right, we move on to the our first runner-up from Gading Kencana, 9 Berhad. We welcome Ms. Nurul Fadila bin Muhammad Riza and is Mr. Muhammad Ashraf bin Muhammad Zabidi to do their presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Mali. First of all, Assalamualaikum and good evening. I'm Ashraf, the Group CFO of Gading Kencana Berhad. First of all, we would like to thank the organizer, ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organization, AFIO, Ministry of Mines and Energy Cambodia, World Energy Council, the Institute of Engineers Malaysia IEM, Pertubuhan Ukur Jurulatara Arkitek PUJA, and Vietnam Union of Science and Technology Association (USTA), and all fellow members across the ASEAN for choosing our project named as Wakaf Solar Project as the first runner-up for ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge for the year 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe with this award, we will be able to share our project visions in promoting renewable energy, not only in Malaysia, but in the ASEAN region, and not solely focusing on the financial profitability, but also for the benefits of our ASEAN communities and Ummah. For your kind information, Gading Kencana is a Malaysian renewable energy project developer company which established in 1993 with the vision to build a sustainable and profitable business in the energy conservation and renewable energy sector. As at today, we have 5 power plant contracts in hand with the total capacities around 100 megawatt and 1 billion secured revenue over the next 21 years, supported by 70 committed staff and 4 GCPVs, grid-connected photovoltaic designers, to ensure the project success. This our current position made us realize that in going forward, we need to put people and communities as our priority. Therefore, we implemented this project which we call as Wakaf Solar. This is a charitable endowment project for sustainable income for the operations of mosques and musola in Johor Bahru. Johor Bahru is the capital city of Johor and located around 300 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur, or around 3 hours of driving. There are several objectives of this project which are as follows. This project is to get participation of all spectrum of the society in the green technology policy and contribute towards achievement of entry point Project 9 EPPA. EPPA is to get the public participation to connect 1.25 gigawatt of renewable energy to the national grid. The second one, to educate the public on the benefit of the solar technology to their life, and it also a cause that religion encourage on environmental protection. The third one, this project also support the government mission to reduce carbon intensity by 45% by 2035. The fourth one, to develop a demonstration project for other mosques. And the last but not least, to generate income for most musola to be financially self-sufficient of self-finance. Yes. A majority of mosques and musola in the country face problems of paying utility bills and cost of the repair and maintenance of their premises. Although there are contributions from various government agencies and the congregation, however, these funds were often insufficient, especially during the COVID-19 Movement Control Order or MCO. The contributions through donation boxes and the passing of the donation container after prayers are inconsistent in amounts and may result in errors for payments of bills and delay repair works. In Arabic dictionary, a wakaf is defined as a permanent dedication of movable or immovable properties for religious, pious, or charitable purpose as recognized by Muslim law. Given by philanthropies, Wakaf Solar Project involved the supply, construction, and maintenance of rooftop solar PV system at 25 mosques in Johor Bahru under the Fit-in Tarikh program. By the way, what is a Fit-in Tarikh program? Fifth in-tariff program is a renewable energy under SAFEDA, Sustainable Energy Development Authority of Malaysia, which is an agency of the Malaysian Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, which allow the premise owner, in this case the MOS, to install solar PV system and sell the energy generated to the national utility company, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, under a power purchase agreement or PPA signed between both parties, which cover for the next 21 years. This project involved in total of 267 kilowatt-peak of rooftop solar PV system with the total cost of 2.5 million ringgit, able to generate the total annual income of 286,000 ringgit per year, or around 6 million over the next 21 years. The income per location is ranging between 390 ringgit per month to 1,325 ringgit per month, depending to the solar PV system capacity installed at the location. The cost of the solar system components was money borne by the Office of the Member of Parliament in Johor Bahru, and also contribution from the congregation, while Guarding supported in terms of the working capital, manpower for systems design, application for in-tariff approval, the system construction, testing, commissioning, and maintenance of the system for the duration of the FIT effective period of 21 years. With a stable source of income, with a stable source of monthly income, the MOS or Musola were able to provide more comfortable ambience for the congregation in the form of installation of air conditioners, coolers, or fans. The MOS or Musola not only conduct 5 times daily mass prayers and Friday prayers, but also religious classes, marriage, solemnization, and performance of the last rite for the deceased before burial. Meanwhile, during the fasting month of Ramadan, certain portion of the peak in-tariff income also were used for iftar, sadaqah to the orphans and underprivileged community. Maintenance of the vehicles surrounding the mosque, toilets, ablution room, prayers, robes for visitors were able to be planned in a more consistent manner with the assured income from the FIT. That's all about the project. Then what we can offer for the ASEAN community. Last but not least, replication of the project concept in the ASEAN region. This project is able to be replicated around the ASEAN continent. Religious spaces, let's see if each location is able to support 4 kilowatt-peak solar PV system, and we have 1 million religious spaces across the ASEAN. We will be able to generate up to 5.4 billion kilowatt-hour of annual energy, which will generate saving up to $540 million of energy cost annually, or around $11.34 billion for the next 21 years. This will be equivalent to 66 million tons of carbon emission for the next 21 years. This project across ASEAN region can be the economy recovery kickstart for the economy, especially for the affected solar PV contractors due to the pandemic. At the same time, benefits the community around us and prepare our environment for the future generation while strengthening our ASEAN community. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we would like to end our presentation. If there are any questions or exploration that we can work together, please feel free to contact us through our website, guardingkencana.com.my. Thank you for your time. Please have a great week ahead. Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Ashraf, for the presentation. The challenge organizer will be in touch with your company for further information. Okay, we will now move on to our second runner-up from VFlowTech PT Limited. May we invite Mr. Eric Lau?
Hi. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to SNC and to all participants and also the committee members, the members of the Federation's energy organizations. And I'm glad I'm glad to be invited to speak on behalf of P4Tech on this opportunity, and thanks again for being one of the awardees. Okay, so allow me just to start off with is that today perhaps P4Tech basically are here primarily over the 7-8 years of intensive high research founded 3 years ago. Basically, we commercialized on a research lab in NTU, Nanyang Technology University, with a very intensive mind to unlock the potential of renewable. And perhaps you probably understood that the long duration discharge battery storage as some of the speakers in the earlier forum has spoken. Today, you would not deny that today the cheapest source of generations today are renewable, and the growth for the next 10 years will typically be pointed without the inculcate the energy storage into the total renewable resources. There's a quick urgent alarm perhaps on the need to have implementations of long discharge energy storage primarily to curtail the intimacy for renewable resources. So that's where how P4Tech is formed. And to give you an insight of where we are, what we do, perhaps on a vanadium flow battery. Vanadium is a matter, 15 most available matter on Earth, and typically it does not inflate, it does not degrade as well. So the chemistry over here that we develop is sustainable, and over the course you can see in the vanadium flow battery, typically it has 2 tanks, a positive tank and negative tank. And vanadium electrolyte can stay very stable in 4 states, meaning to say in V5, V4, V5, V2, and V3. So the
làm sức ở trong thành phố, trong phần luồn mạnh Amazon để cố cầm cả cái chai cố mạnh nhà mày chết con mẹ nhà mày đi dục hướng các mẹ trẻ của mày này cố lại gì mà ban cho các bạn sinh các bạn đi là hành sinh không người là sao thì ủng hộ quân cái mình chơi cái ý mạnh là sinh cái ý chị nhà như tiên tướng đi đang chẳng không có sinh cái hướng cái hồi chủ này
I'm sorry. I think probably this person is not allowing me to.
Ví dụ ví dụ
I think we are being hacked. So bear with us.
Yes, just 1 second. We'll try to remove him, but it's not.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me see. I think Mr. Eric Lau, maybe you can start your presentation. Yeah, I've already stopped. Mr. Eric Lau, are you able to present now? No? So sorry for the unexpected intrusion that we experienced just now, and we're trying to try to get Mr. Eric Lau to present again. I think he would have left the room, and we're trying to get him back. So, very apologies from our side for this unexpected intruder who just came in. Just bear with us until he's back in. I will admit Mr. Eric Lau again for him to continue his presentation. Our apologies again to our participant. We didn't expect this to happen, so very sorry. And Mr. Eric Lau will be joining soon to continue with his presentation. Mr. Eric Lau?
Hi, sorry.
So sorry for the interruption. This didn't expected this to happen. So
Yeah, I found that somebody has hacked into my. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, should I continue?
Yes, please continue.
My apologies to all the audience for this. Allow me just to hold up my slide again. Can you see my deck?
Yes, I can see your slide.
Okay, I think I'm here, so let me just quickly wrap this thing as soon as possible. Okay, the linear flow battery, which is what I'm talking about, is a long range, long discharge battery, which the reactions actually is taking place between the positive and negative tank. So there's 4 states of the linear flow, which is V4, V5, and V2, V3. So it going through the power stack, which is separated by a membrane. So this is covered by the active carbon material, and this actually the charging stage take place and discharging through oxidation and reduction. The number of cycles can repeat 10,000 over cycles, which is allow it to have a lifespan of over 20 years. So it's a super safe to use kind of element. It does not. This in terms of the linear flow batteries are recyclable, inclusive of all the piping PP materials. So you have a very long life, 25 years, 100% kind of depth of discharge. So theoretically, what we have found over the years that competitions over the vanadium flow battery has this kind of characteristic, which is high parasitic loss, typically because we use pump to flow the solvent vanadium electrolyte through the power stack, and it has increases the losses over time. So the round trip efficiency typically are less than 70% for many competitions. And in one stage whereby vanadium at V5 stage above 40 degrees kind of operating temperature, it will start to precipitate. And with all these issues, we have founded and resolved our niche kind of latency. Then we developed our power stack based on fuel cell topology and increase our capacity 3 times more than the competition. So today, like competitors are using 250 watt of pump, we use 110, there's 25 watt of pump. That actually drastically reduce the parasitic losses. And we have invented our organic chemistry that allows the operating window temperature to extend from -10 to 55 degrees Celsius. So all these actually inculcated in our in-house design and development of our stack that increase also 25% density compared to the competition. So with the today technology of IoTs, we have embedded all our BMS and EMS in terms of IoT enabled, with 20 over register sensors across the whole battery system that can be deployed against all your distributed resources. So how we are addressing here? We are actually addressing a very global market that probably some of the forum speaker has spoken. 120 billion kind of stationary energies growth with the kind of exponential renewable adoption across the Asean country. And today we have a big classic project that we have demonstrated with our vanadium flow battery with an off-grid ONG customer. So this customer is actually burning, they are actually container terminals operators. So they are energy resources that store material in containers. They are burning about 5 million diesels per day, per year, sorry, which contribute very thousands of metric tons in a year. And we actually deploy our vanadium flow battery in a very hot sandpit area, powered by the solar panel. And we demonstrate our battery 24/7 discharging to a very high inductive water pump loads. And this demonstration was a high classic success, which actually brings us to a next phase of deploying using their container, 2 of these containers, to store electrolyte. This is how it works. So you can scale in terms of energy gigawatt hours by using containers. So if you have 2 tanks, one positive and one negative, with a 600 cubic tank, 10% fuel, megawatt hour of energy, and increasing by fully populated vanadium to 600 cubic tank, you can actually power 40 megawatt hour energy. So with this duplicate or same design of 50 times, you actually can supply 1 gigawatt hour of energy across the whole island. And today, these oil companies are thinking to energize it or total off-grid without, or rather to say, retire all the diesel generation in this stage. So we have the liberty to actually demonstrate our success and our vanadium flow battery that can scale. So we are in the early stage in 2022, whereby we are deploying next year kind of classic using 2 of their tanks and populated with the so-called the PV, floating PV across the island. And this is a demonstration of using one of the classic commercial kind of tanks to store electrolyte energy. Right. Another showcase that we have also demonstrated in the Clean Tech Sustainability Energy Project in Singapore. And this is a building which is a fully clean tech. We actually install our 100 kilowatt system in the first of the kind in the gen room, whereby many most, in terms of fire safety, a lot of other battery technology will be not able to install next to the gen room. And we are only one. So we demonstrated the capacity to charge up the battery from the solar panel PV rooftop and actually dispense during off-peak across the common area of the building, as well as the EV charging in the car park. And this demonstration was highly recognized by the Temasek Foundation, and we actually won the grant on this demonstration project as well. So how does this project work is that we actually built a 10 kilowatt system in a containerized, all in-house with our sophisticated built-in design and material. This is our demonstration of components against a stack that were demonstrated for 100 kilowatt hour. Right, and together with that, we also understand the technology of AI and data. We actually inculcate our EMS systems that allow you to digitalize, manage your energy storage across any distributed resources. So, for example, there's an intermittency of certain solar, at certain hours where there's no sun. The EMS were able to trigger the battery to supply the load without stretching the grid. As you may understand that today, as EV adoption is growing, in leaps and bounds, you see that there's more stress on the grid in terms of energy requirement. So another use case that we have also a project that we deploy off grid. I understand in ASEAN we have so many areas or islands that is still powered by the off grid. And in one of the islands, Pulau Ubin of Singapore, the recreation island, whereby they demonstrate long time over the decades with traditional backup batteries in lead acid, even lately or the lithium battery, none has worked by far. So we have in principle awarded for next year to deploy a long duration vanadium nickel battery of 1 megawatt hour to power a small resident load 24 hours across the island. So this is an area that we will be like to deploy across the Asian countries in terms of off-grid. Another use case we also have demonstrated our battery can be used as a total green for charging EV cars. So this is a press release that has gone up in 1 or 2 days ago, whereby our partners, we have deployed a system and demonstrated, our partner in Australia has demonstrated together with MP of Perth in how our battery can be used as a total green EV charger. Right. We also have a project in, working with the Soltech in South Korea to actually transform the EV charging station. Traditionally, you probably know that a lot of petrol kiosks today have underground tanks. And specifically to this area of a project in Korea, whereby we actually in Jeju Island, or rather, they have a lot of solar and renewable turbines, so to speak, which have no net metering advantage, or rather, they cannot fed the excess generation into the grid. So what we actually came out is to utilize the underground tank to store the charged electrolyte and recycle the uncharged electrolyte across to the charging station in the renewable farm. And this has been a classic one which we're able to churn out, multiply deployment of the EV growth as well. Right. So in short, we are glad that we are very short young company like us. We are able to demonstrate a couple of good use case projects that have deployed not only in geography constraint like Australia, hot summer. We also have a partnership with vanadium off-takers, which actually bring us to a green hydrogen project. And many more, as you say, green hydrogen will not be able to propel without the energy storage. Right. These are one of few recognitions that we have. We're glad that we have been supported by the Master Foundation as well as Enterprise Singapore. Right. To end my presentation over here, I'd like to just probably share with you a video over here to see whether I can click here about how we can actually use a total renewable battery to demonstrate a saw cut processes. Skip it. Allow me to skip this. Right. Okay, this is a battery. This is a saw cut powered by our battery in a factory. They're totally using total green, and the battery is actually charged up on the rooftop solar PVs.
Sorry, Mr. Eric. We are just looking at your slide at the moment. There's no video.
No video. Oh, sorry. Let me just. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just. It's just a 1 minute. 1 minute video.
It's without the sound, is it?
You don't have the sound?
Yeah. Yes. I think you have to unshare, and then once you share back, there is a button where you need to tick the sound share sound button for us to hear. So you have to unshare it first.
Okay. Let me just stop the sharing.
Yeah. And then when you share back, you see the box on your left hand side.
Yes. Yes. So let me. All right, thank you so much. That's what I have today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Lau, for this sharing session. The organizer of the challenge will contact you on this information further. Okay. All right. So now we have come to the end of the session, end of the program for Energy Forum. I'll now invite Engineer Francis, maybe to have a closing word. Engineer Francis. Okay. Right. So maybe I could call Mr. Alex Dewey.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Wali. And again, I would like to congratulate the winners of all the ASEAN Sustainable Energy Challenge for 2021. I think it's very inspiring, and the project and also the work that all of you have done in promoting energy sustainability in ASEAN. Again, big congratulations and heartiest congratulations to all our award winner. And Ms. Wali will be arranging the official certificates to all our winners after this forum session. So, ladies and gentlemen, and your excellencies, thank you for participating and joining us today in our Energy Forum 2021. We take note of all the comments as well as the input that you have given us, and we'll improve them. And hopefully in 2022, we'll do it better and bigger with more engagement from our participants as well as our expert panelists. So again, thank you very much, and good evening to all of you. Stay safe and take care, and see you all later in the conference of ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organization for the 39th in Brunei, together with our host from Puja. Thank you very much. Stay safe and take care.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. So this is, thank you very much for all the participants who are here being with us patiently, and we apologize for the brief interruption. We hope that we be able to see you again for the next energy forum, and please do join us for our events arranged by the AFEO Energy Working Group, and we hope that you will stay on to continue in the activities of CAFEO 39, which will be until 3rd December. And until then, it's goodbye from us. Thank you. If everybody can remain, we would like to take a group photo. Okay, if you can open your camera. Right, okay. A count of 1, 2, 3, yeah. Okay, we've got 2 pages. We had quite a number of participants earlier. I think most of them have already left. So we'll start now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we move on to the next page. Okay, give me 1 minute. All right, count of 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you and goodbye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.